Case studies including horrific stories of abuse were aired during public hearings held by the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse from September 2013 to March 2017. After 5 years of emotionally exhausting and confronting public hearings, the Commission will hand its report to the Governor-General this Friday. Here is a snapshot of just a few of the institutions the Commission investigated. Hundreds of children were sexually abused at Salvation Army boys' homes in Queensland and New South Wales in the 1960s and 70s, the Royal Commission was told. During Case Study 5, one of 3 case studies conducted into the Salvation Army, the Commission heard details of abuse at the organisation's boys' homes at Idorupilla and Riverview in Queensland, and Bexley and Goulburn in New South Wales. Survivor witnesses gave evidence they were dragged from their beds and raped by Salvation Army officers, forced to have sex with other boys in the home and put in cages or paraded around the ground as punishment for minor offences. The Commission was told boys at the Bexley home in Sydney's south were rented out to strangers who sexually abused them and that a network of paedophiles had accessed boys in their dormitory. Senior Salvation Army officers conceded that in the past, the organisation did not have the policies and processes in place to protect children. Commissioner James Condon told the Commission the organisation was no longer focused on protecting its reputation, but putting victims first. Case Study 33 looked at how the Salvos handled allegations of abuse in its Southern Territory and specifically at the Eden Park Boys' Home, South Australia, the Box Hill Boys' Home and the Bayswater Boys' Home in Victoria and the Salvation Army Boys' Home, also known as Hollywood Children's Village, at Adelaide, Western Australia. One survivor witness gave evidence he was sexually abused at least 200 times by older boys and by a Salvation Army officer at the Eden Park Boys' Home. The Royal Commission concluded that children in those homes felt afraid to report abuse, were powerless to resist the maltreatment, and that nothing was done to stop the staff and officers abusing the children. In Case Study 10, the Commission scrutinised how the Salvos handled complaints from abuse survivors in its Eastern Territory between 1989 and 2014. It heard the Salvation Army had failed to act on abuse complaints, concealed abuse and protected perpetrators, was reluctant to compensate victims or offered them only paltry sums and made some sign deeds of release which prevented them speaking publicly about their abuse. The Commission heard one major admitted sexually abusing a girl in 1989 but rose through the ranks of the organisation until his position was terminated in 2014. Sexual abuse in a New South Wales orphanage between the 1940s and 80s. The covering up of abuse complaints in some of the nation's top private schools, and evidence from witnesses who fell victim to a paedophile ring operating in the Church of England Boys' Society, SEBS, were some of the matters considered by the Commission in 8 hearings into Anglican institutions. Survivors of the North Coast Children's Home in Lismore, New South Wales told the Commission staff, clergy and residents had sexually abused children.